welcome back to the LEC, where we can finally make a proper welcome to Daglas. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, thank you.
And for joining the LEC. Congrats on your very first win in the LEC. We're just talking about this right now. You got to play last year. It was not very successful, but you were also brought to the team in a very difficult time. How does it feel to finally win?
Well, it feels great after 6-game lose streak in the LEC.
Oh my God.
The pressure of winning is finally off.
Tell me about the off-season, because as I said, last year Vitality brought you in the team in a difficult situation, subbing out Bo and bringing you into the stage. When did you find out that you were going to play in the LEC next year, and how did your off-season go?
So, after last year being in LEC, I went back to LFL, and after I finished my playoffs in the LFL, I've been already told that Vitality wants to work with me next year. So I think it was like around September. So I knew it from September. So my off-season was really long. And I was just waiting all this time.
Long off-season, but you knew that you were going to be in the LEC, of course, making things easier for you. What do you want to prove here? What should people get to know about you? What is Daglas going to be about? Because we have a lot of flavors in the jungle. What is going to make you stand out?
Well, first of all, every jungle wants to gap every other jungle. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But I think this team is, my teammates are amazing, and I want to play around them in this team.
I want to know more about the team, because when you look at the bot lane, they're rather explosive, to say the least. They're going to be a bit aggressive, more than they need to. Usually, Vitio, we know that he can do amazing things if he's set up the right way. Tell me about Vitality, this mix of players that you're playing with, and how far do you guys think you can go together? Because you bounced back really well after last week in this first game against Rogue.
Well, I can tell that my teammates, I got to play with Hilisang. He's veteran of LEC, so I'm sucking off his knowledge. And Photon, Karzi, and Vitio, they're just great individually, but when we all play together, it just makes our team better. Yeah,
and we saw this today, honestly, night and day compared to last week. And before the game, I was talking to Markun, and I was asking him what he thinks of you as a rookie jungler in the LEC. He had a lot of praise, a lot of good things to say about you. How do you think you've been matching against other jungle in the LEC so far? And how does it make you feel to hear other junglers speaking highly of you?
I think I found myself really confident in every game, but maybe last week I didn't deliver that much, and it was a little bit of choking, but after 0-3 week, we just rebound for this one, and we want to look stronger for upcoming matches.
First win for the French teams. We'll see if we can follow up with another one later today. Daglas, thank you so much for the interview, and congrats on winning your very first game in the LEC. Too many more, of course. And Sjokz, back to you.
Thank you so much. Great to hear from Daglas. Finally, Vitality has a win on the board. Phew!
Ooh, it was well needed. I mean, I said walking to the desk before, right, that they were gonna get a win, surely from the.
Of course you did that. I totally heard that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. But they played well, and they played really with a lot of kind of pressure in the game. It's nice to see that a team that goes 0-3 doesn't lose confidence and kind of plays slower and slower. They actually picked up the pace and played very fast.
Yeah, I think there obviously was some mistakes from Rogue in that early game, especially given Vitio 4 kills. That kind of sealed the deal. But even just from the jungle perspective, Daglas absolutely out-jungled Makun in that game. And I think that is great for a rookie coming in, that you can start jungling against the likes of Makun, who's been here for so long now as well.
Yeah, someone had Daglas on Rising Star, I think, last week in the game we played. I can't remember who it was, but you were right. Seemingly. So let's get into our next game, which is the undefeated SK Gaming taking on Heretics. Now, when we talked about how we wanted to approach this segment, I heard we got to build up Irrelevant. Irrelevant's insane. Irrelevant is sick. Is he the best top laner in the LEC? Is that what we're going to do?
I think from the first week he absolutely was, and I think there was no question about that. I think from every single play that he had, to the way he is facilitated to draft, to the small resources that he gives, to the way he plays the map, I just want to go through every single thing. Absolutely everything about Irrelevant.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not very often that you see a top laner come in and kind of be highly praised on a lot of different factors at the same time. I think he just checks so many boxes that it's impossible to not talk about him, right? I think a lot of times a top laner can have a good lane but then falter in mid game, or have a pretty good team fight but not have a very good lane. But so far, at least in these 3 games and also the last year, he's shown that he's improving consistently. He's improving his champion pool. He's kind of just ticking off more and more boxes, and right now I would say he is the best top laner in LEC.
He absolutely is, but he's not a top laner that takes resources from the team. He obviously gets attention for them every now and then, but he's not even the highest of jungle proximity up there as well. It's also just the fact that this is a top laner that can do both for you. He can be the facilitator, but he can also be the star carry for you as a top laner if that's what you needed for him. We saw them try and build that with SK, where they started with a bot lane oriented team last year in Winter, and then start Spring when they had that 3-0 going for them as well back then. That was actually because they started playing for his Nocturne up towards the top side. But I think it's not just the stats where he obviously looks good, it's also the fact that his team is actually setting him up for it. In the first 2 games that they had where he had counter pick available to him, they decided to say, well, you know what, we're gonna give that counter pick to Irrelevant every single time. And the only time they had the outlier in draft is when they were on blue side, Jax was open and he just said, pick me Jax. And then he ran away with it, even solo killing Oscar in that game. So yeah, absolutely stellar from that game.
Yeah, here are the drafts if you wanted to see them, of course, from week 1 where they set him up for success. But on the other hand, though, I think, I guess they're looking for a total where they can, do they want to play towards top? They can. Do they want to play towards that bot lane, as we said, that had a phenomenal winter last year? They can. I think they're trying to build up everything, right?
Yeah, ideally. I mean, if you're a good team, you don't want to have only one style, right? Yeah. I think that they've shown that they could play towards bot last year as well, and now having Irrelevant as the strong carry, it makes SK more of a dynamic threat, so to say. I think having multiple facets that you can play and not just be, oh, we're just gonna path bot and bot and bot, it's very easy for the enemies to predict, right? So now that they have Irrelevant as kind of the star of the team and the guy leading the charge with a lot of pressure, it's very nice to have for a team.
We don't know if he is. We're just calling him that because he was so stellar last week as well. Before SK, is this something that came out of nowhere? Because I remember hearing these things about Irrelevant also already last year. Maybe it wasn't as consistent then entirely through the year because of the ups and downs of SK, but this is not a surprise.
No, I think this is something that they've just gotten more ingrained in. And I was surprised that the new members were so good at adapting to having a guy like Avelon in the team. In this scenario where he obviously trades 1-for-1 out of tower in a bit, it's still a scenario where as soon as Isma and DOS and the rest of the team is moving up towards the top side, Irrelevant's already had the crash on top side where he can then have the first move and facilitate a skirmish. He's able to get solo kills. He's able to use that solo kill to bring different pressure. In this scenario, he's just going to take some plates, another proxy on the wave, so he has tempo. What's he going to do with this? He's not going to go recall with it. Drake is up. He's going to move down and now facilitate the team instead. So even coming off of a solo kill like this, he's able to completely gain tempo in his own right without the help of his team. And that's what gives him that X factor where he's so deadly to play against.
Because he can do it without his team, or he generally does in the lane. But then actually he's extremely equipped at helping out his team as well. Compared to other top laners, he spends a lot of time with the rest of his team. His kill participation is also through the roof. And I think obviously that's the ideal scenario. And the caveat, it was going really well for SK as well in general, right? So everything looked great, but this isn't coming out of nowhere for Irrelevant, I don't think so. They're up versus Team Heretics in this one. Team Heretics that actually went 2-1 last week. And when I talked to some of the players, including on PGL after, they were surprised. They were like, oh, we actually expected Heretics to be much worse and not get the 2-1. Actually, maybe not even a win. So my question is, what were your general impressions then of Team Heretics this week 1?
I mean, when they started with the loss, I think everyone was very quick on X, kind of being like, oh, of course they're gonna lose. Like, they're all washed. We expected this, right? Like, clearly they can't play well. And then they kind of had 2 good games after that. And it was like, oh, they're actually pretty good. So I think they surprised, I guess, not themselves, but they surprised at least me. They played better than I thought, and especially Kaiser on the Bard, I think he looked pretty clean.
I agree with the Bard point, but analyzing Team Heretics throughout the 3 games as a whole, it had me puzzled. Because you didn't see a lot of the same consistency coming through them. Like the first game against MDK, absolutely stumped. There's not a lot to take away from that. The second game against Rogue, super slow paced, not a lot happening on the map. It just kind of slowly but surely bleeding Rogue out. And then the third game, just a bit more fast paced, getting kills, actually looking like a strong team. Like it was 3 different stylistics we saw come out from the team, and it was really hard to just identify them as what exactly this team does yet. So I'm not sure where to put Team Heretics yet, because they haven't consistently shown the same set plays.
Yeah, maybe they're figuring it out as well. But as we were talking about Irrelevant so much in the top lane, let's talk about this matchup specifically then versus Wunder as well, and where we see it.
Well, I think Wunder is a good benchmark for a top laner to go up against after his veterancy he's had in the league. Arguably also one of the GOAT top laners, of course. Bwiboku or Soas comes to mind for most. But I think Wunder's had a time where he's always been regarded as a top laner you can rely on. You remember the Gragas, you saw his Renekton's coming in from last year. But in terms of the week 1 performance, still we go back to it. Irrelevant was better.
Yeah, and speaking of Irrelevant, we can hear from him because we asked him a few questions ahead of us heading to Picks and Bans.
I mean, the team in general, my first impression was actually like, for example, Irrelevant in the beginning didn't talk much, but then we went out once and now he's just normal. I feel like he's just opening up, and I never really talked to him before, but the rest of the team I kinda knew already. But for me, he was the only question mark, and I'm pretty impressed actually. I think he's really good, and I think I will make him also a way better player than he already is.
I think I just need to work harder in general, not on anything specific. I think this year, I think I was already doing a lot, but I think I can do a lot more to help the team in many ways. Power rankings. Us first, obviously.
He's a great guy. He's actually super funny as well. As I heard from some of the SK members, they all get along well. And why wouldn't you? It's honeymoon phase. 3-0. It's all working out. But now they're up against Team Heretics as they are taking to the stage. And we will cover Picks and Bans. I cut you off before we went, Treatz. What did you want to say about Irrelevant Wunder?
No, I just think that the matchup will be super interesting from the fact that obviously now we've hyped up Irrelevant a lot, right? But Wunder is kind of the guy to beat. He is the benchmark, and I think if you can have another solid performance against someone like Wunder, I think it just adds on to the Irrelevant hype train, so to say. So I'm interested to see also what happens in the draft because, as you said as well, GB, with the Jax kind of first pick against Osgridden and then solo killing him, maybe Wunder is scared of the Jax. What are you going to do into it? I think there's no counter pick that Wunder plays where Irrelevant goes, okay, I will have a hard time against this.
No,
so it'll be very interesting to see.
I completely agree. Like, I still think we'll see the bans like a Rumble, but I don't suspect the Jax pick actually going through or not. What I want to see, I don't expect it to be banned in the first 3 rotations. Like, it's still one of those champions that when they get banned, they usually get banned towards the second phase. And while he has shown he's willing to first pick it, it's not like the other games he's gone for it immediately. So it has to fit a specific role, and he can get counter pick on red side.
Now with the B patch as well, though, stuff like the LeBlanc maybe doesn't have to get banned, so there could be room for something like a Jax ban. But like you said, GB, I think the Rumble, I think bot laners like Kalista as well, obviously a very high priority. We got baited
what
there.
a tease. It's
back again.
It's back.
And there we have it.
Team Heretics' first ban is the Jax.
Absolutely. Okay, but
Hey,
that
Kali as well.
goes to show some good respect towards Irrelevant as well. The Akali going off the table is interesting. Nisqy piloted that quite well himself, but even Perkz had an even better game on it last week as well. And it's just one of those. Yeah, we saw some nerfs to the Storm Surge, but we just saw V2 play on it. It's still very relevant as a champion.
I think in general, when you're blue side as well, you have a bit more freedom with your bans. So someone like Wunder might be like, yeah, I can play into the Jax, but if we ban it, I'll have a way easier time of blind picking my own champion. So I think it just puts less pressure on Team Heretics in the draft, so to say. Kalista being banned now as well. I'm looking at, obviously, Lucian hasn't had very good success so far in the LEC. Don't want to see that one coming out for Heretics. But now with the B patch, I think we'll also have to adapt and kind of see the new champions coming. We already saw the Udyr, of course. And maybe there's some other new champions that are coming in the B patch.
Oh.
What are we thinking here?
I'm thinking that something crashed. Because it's gone. So we'll see.
They're still going at it. I think the Virus Brand is actually coming in with a Cassante. That's interesting on red side because even if you first pick it on blue side, the response often is that you want to pick the Udyr into the Cassante and have a decent matchup. Even Zigenda having just lost on it was still a lot CS ahead until he made some mistakes. And now for first pick, still so much available. Team Heretics has shown to prioritize champions like Sin as well. Sia is available for Perkz. Poppy, like there's just still so many power picks that you can just go for.
Yeah, that's why Treatz was saying, I guess, you have some room to play with them.
Yeah, I think blue side is very open right now. You can do a lot of different things. I think Zhao makes sense. Poppy is still open, which I think is a fairly good answer into it. It's something that I think Isma can play as well. I would expect Irrelevant to hold 5P now, and
But
not
Rumble
really...
is available, and
That is true, yeah.
That's the one that has gone through, which is curious because that is Team Heretics saying we'd rather play against your Rumble than your Jax. We're not so sure how much you play it, and honestly, I haven't seen Irrelevant too much on Rumble in officials either.
Yeah,
but obviously that goes to show he gets banned a lot.
Yeah, I haven't seen Irrelevant play a lot of Rumble myself. Not that anyone has kind of played Rumble because it's been banned every game, but it's still open and available. I think if I'm Wunder, I'm pretty scared of picking it here though. You're playing into a Nocturne that will dive you and then have a counter pick on Irrelevant. So maybe SK is kind of daring him to do it and then pick it themselves on 3. I think that would set up a very strong draft with the Nocturne and the Rumble.
Oh, Senna coming
here
through,
we go.
and that's just going to be the Seraphine. Now, Flakked, of course, very experienced on a champion like Seraphine. He used to play lane with Tarkamas, and Tarkamas back then used to be the Senna. So, double support item,
Here we go.
almost guaranteed to come through here.
Oh, is it exciting or not?
Oh, it's... I mean,
I
think it's exciting.
I like it. It looks a bit broken, I'm not going to lie, but very exciting.
Right now, we don't mind it as much.
Nocturne Orianna combo though, that's pretty good way to deal with Seraphine and Senna, making sure they can play. They lock in the Rumble instead, as we said before, so Nocturne Rumble, very solid combo as well at dealing with the backline. Although Seraphine shields against Rumble actually scale insanely well into the game, so I think SK needs to add on some more dive here to kind of make the threat real.
Think it was a trap?
I mean, if they can get something like the Nautilus and maybe something like the TF that they have before that can go into the backline, I would say it's a good draft from SK. But so far, I would say Heretics is winning. They have kind of a simple front-to-back draft, and I think if I'm Heretics, I'm banning away stuff like Nautilus. They need some more direct CC on the side of SK to kind of deal with this backline pressure.
Really to complement a Rumble as well with the CC, because right now, yeah, you can go in a Nocturne, you can find a fear on one target and try and get the equalizer on top, but it's not enough, and especially not through the utility that you get on Seraphine. Like, she will just go hyper on the shields. You'll have the utility and healing through the Senna, and if you go into Zhao, he's just going to press ult and you will never damage him. So you certainly need something that does a bit more oomph here, and I don't know what they're looking for right now in SK in terms of Nisqy picking up a champion, because they still have the likes of an SC open. They're still banning out some of the mid laners here where you can look to ban away mid laners that you're scared of yourself, where you want to forfeit your mid laner and you just give a counter pick to the support instead. Actually, you already have the counter pick, so there's
I mean,
really
SK
just
should
support
definitely
on 4,
look for support from 4,
Yeah.
I would expect Nautilus to be banned here, and then you're kind of left with not that many good engage supports anymore. There's not that many options that are playable here for DOS. There's a world where SK go for the better front-to-back draft, so to say, but I think with the Seraphine and the Senna, it's very tricky. In my head here, I would just personally go for the Nautilus and kind of secure the CC on the backline. But maybe SK has something else up their sleeve.
They have started playing the map a lot more with the Bard, but Bard is kind of counterintuitive with the kind of picks that you have right now with the Nocturne and the Rumble. But let's see what they have in the tank. They still have a lot of options.
Rakan is very, very hard in lane. This is a pick that obviously has a lot of good engage, as we all know, in the mid and late game, but the lane is very tricky. That's why something like Nautilus actually puts some pressure on the lane, but now they're kind of forfeited the lane, and the Senna and Seraphine should scale freely into the mid game. So I think Heretics is still very happy with this. I think now you just pick some disengage and some tankiness, maybe like an Udyr or something top, and maybe an Orianna on mid lane, and kind of just farm it out, because you know that SK wants to dive onto you, so just build disengage and you're happy.
What other options do you have right now? There's Orianna available in the mid lane, Syndra not too good into getting locked down by them.
Of course, the
Long
Corki.
range.
Did you see that thread already today? Or like
Which one
yesterday?
was it?
There's just flaming Corki.
Oh yeah, the thing with Corki is I always like the idea of playing him, but watching him is so snoozer. Like, it's...
I'll defend you, Corki. I don't know.
I mean, Vex is not that bad here, to be honest. I mean, you need some dive. Either you do the Orianna Nocturne combo and kind of one-shot the backline, or you go for something, I mean, like the Nisqy Gragas. That's a classic, yeah. That's a true and tried. I mean, they have a lot of backline damage if they land everything, but in a world where Heretics actually blocks their initial engage like half decently, I think SK lacks a lot of damage, to be honest. They're very close range as well.
I actually think the lockdown is kind of difficult as well. I understand they have the Gragas, I understand they have the Rakan, but into a Zhao, into the tank of an Udyr that can become untargetable, into hopefully Flakked and Kaiser respecting the enemy team with their engage and having to sit back and let the frontline, and the long range you get from a Corki. This could be very good for Team Heretics, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing Heretics draft, I think it's very straightforward. You hit closest target, you peel back, don't let them engage onto you, just play the range game, and you'll be a happy camper. So, personally, I would rather play Heretics draft. I think it's very straightforward and easy to execute. So I think SK, if they snowball and if they kind of get ahead, they have a lot of tools to shut down the enemy comp, but we'll have to see what happens in game.
Let's see, indeed, a lot of onus on SK. They have to make it happen. Let's head into the game with our casters.
Thank you very much, Sjokz, and here we are, folks, for the first game of double support item abuse, probably of many to come through, and that might be part of the reason why Treatz is excited about what Team Heretics are bringing to the table. On top of that, Flakked and Kaiser, both known on different teams for their love of creative Senna lanes. Back in the day with Senna Wukong, Kaiser, Flakked, of course, alongside Targamas, busting out the Seraphine Senna. Truly hype stuff here as we get into our second game of the day. But Jamada, the first thing I want to talk about before they start murdering each other, Isma Nocturne. If you have ever watched EU Masters, you know this man, absolute terror on the champion, absolute terror on the pick. Something I think we have to keep our eyes on.
Bit of a monster, to say the least, and I think that the composition of SK in general is very suited and kind of built around, really, this Nocturne pick. Lights go off, Rumble on top of your head, you've got a Rakan coming from one side or another, and then of course you have Gragas, the scary, scary Gragas out of the Fog of War. Yeah. Very, very strong composition built around Isma here.
Certainly is. We'll see. Some comments about, concerns about damage as we get later in the game. We'll track exactly how much damage they're putting out. Corki, a pick that was buffed on the hotfix, part of the reason we might be seeing it here. But a lot of additional poke for this champion. And nice to have a hyper carry here for Team Heretics. It's going to take a lot of time for the Senna to scale up. Seraphine, obviously known for her utility, not necessarily her damage output. But one team trying to blow you up, the other team trying to survive and counterpunch here. So in some ways, similar story to our previous game, but I imagine this early game a bit more explosive.
Yeah, should be, compared to game number one. What I really want to see is Team Heretics actually use this Udyr pick into the Rumble, try and actually put down a little bit of pressure on the top side. And Jankos is starting on the bottom side of the map, so we'll keep our eyes on him and whether or not he's able to pressure Irrelevant, who has certainly been a very big standout performer on this SK lineup, but of course amongst top laners as a whole in the league.
Yeah, had a fantastic time. The only guy to be successful on Jax thus far, which is of course the signature pick, and it's part of the reason why we've seen it banned away. But level 1, definitely not winning out against the Udyr, sort of as expected. Kaiser and Flakked going for some more aggressive trades. Flakked keeping the empowered double cast ready to go. And I'll be honest, I don't think there's a single support in the game DOS could have picked here to save this lane, but Rakan is definitely one of the ones who's going to struggle more in the early game.
I was kind of hoping that we would get to see his Bard again, especially with the Nocturne in the game. And we saw what was already on the table as a very immobile bottom lane, so it would have been nice to have seen the Bard come through, but of course the Rakan pairs up really well with the dive, the Nocturne, and of course the Gragas, so we'll see how DOS gets on throughout the lane, but of course it's really going to be the mid game. Once he has level 6, track how strong his ability to find that backline will be.
Yep. And if you've missed it entirely somehow, new itemization, experimental hexplate, of course, one of the big reasons that Nocturne has come back into popularity. It is quite literally the perfect item for him. It gives him a little bit of everything that he would want. Ultimate haste, attack speed, extra move speed, and attack speed when he casts his ult. So one of the few users in the game who literally gets something out of every single stat. Dawson Exakick clearly feeling confident around this level 3 point. Not the best guns on Aphelios for more upfront damage. But big struggle of Senna Seraphine is if somehow you can get through all the stuff that they're throwing at you, which is a lot of stuff. You CC them and lock them down, they will burn down pretty quickly, at least here in the early game.
Definitely should. I feel like for Exakick, as long as he's staying relevant to CS with Flakked, well, I guess once they get the support item, that's going to change, right? So
that's so true. This is the thing. If you've missed all of the breakdowns, you can buy a second support item. It's a great way to get money. It is a great way to get wards. You will end up with more gold in the enemy bottom lane, but we're going to hold that thought. Isma here on the top side. Irrelevant overheating. Isma unconcerned, just continuing to walk up. Has red buff over Jankos at this stage. Irrelevant would really love to crash this wave, get this pushed in, but has to be a little bit careful.
It's good cover from Isma. That's what we wanted to see. Jankos come up here, try and put a bit of pressure onto Irrelevant in what feels like one of Rumble's few difficult matchups. But Isma's there to cover, so there won't be any issues. It's only the Ghost that is used by Wunder.
Wunder getting burned down now.
Oh.
Overheating Rumble obviously can do a lot of additional damage. Rumble still has a Biscuit left to his name. Also has already gone and gotten an early Null Magic Mantle. Both sides still have TP up and available. No real kill pressure here. Again, just looking at that massive, massive shield. It is so hard to trade back against this champion in a way that is actually meaningful without jungle support.
So hard to crack. Of course, we saw it into the Xante last game, and that champion just doesn't have the damage available to crack it. Of course, Rumble definitely
It does for now, but there's an item in the game. You may have seen it. It's called Kainic Rooker. It makes everybody Galio. And yeah, pretty impossible to get through that shield, at least in shorter trades.
Jankos. Oh, that was close.
Grab some buffs here. Isma spending a lot of time really just covering the top side of the map right now, but obviously it is just the race to level 6 for Isma. Will be spotted recalling here, so brief window of opportunity. DOS, solid roam here into the mid lane. Level 6 for Perkz. DOS taking his time here. Perkz, again, knowing that he's not really threatened until Nisqy. Calling him Nisqy would be a little BM here. Steps past the minion wave, but that is level 6 for Nisqy. Getting the cover, able to push the wave in now with the help of DOS.
Nice move from DOS just to ensure that Nisqy can try to get this wave in and not cost him too much, as Exakick and DOS were coming out from a reset, so DOS just helping out his mid lane.
Knock up there, knock back, knocks him away from the tower. Burning, ticking, first blood!
Just a bit disrespectful from Perkz. Wasn't expecting the dive in, and pays for it with his life. A whole bunch of CC. Great cast from Nisqy. And knock up as well.
No flashes burned.
Yeah.
By anyone.
And that's how you know.
He had all the information he needed to know that that kill was coming. But yeah, just did not respect the execution here. And I feel like there's not a vendetta against Perkz and Nisqy yet. I'm not trying to build fake rivalries, but Nisqy did, unironically, I'm not just trying to start stuff here, call Perkz washed on the podcast this week. And so everything Nisqy does to get a one-up on Perkz, I feel like it's going to hurt a little bit more this time around. Yeah. He is down 13 CS, though, so it kind of balances out for the most part.
Yeah. And of course, Corki is eventually going to be a very, very powerful threat.
A non-interactive, very powerful threat.
Yeah.
He will sit a mile away and just shoot rockets at you for 1,000,000 damage.
But the thing with Nisqy on this Gragas is, as long as you kind of stay 10, 15 CS within Perkz's purview, it's more about the move to side lanes, making plays alongside Isma. I think that was really what kind of set SK apart from their opponents last week.
Yeah, Nisqy and Isma spending a ton of time together. Just abnormally high jungle proximity around the mid lane. So linking up pretty well. And Isma now ticking over to level 6. 6 seconds now on Nisqy's cask and counting. We get closer and closer. Let's see what the avenue is here to try to make some plays. Irrelevant using his top priority to lay down a little bit of vision. We'll have some decent info as Nisqy wanders in. Spots Perkz, but doesn't see Jankos. He's got no one else with him. Bit of an oopsie there. Cast not quite going the way that he wants it to. Is going to be forced to flash out to safety. Over-eager from Nisqy, safe to say. Flash follow-up is there, but Team Heretics don't want to overcommit.
Bit of a happy moment from Nisqy, but you know, no harm, no foul. Loses flash, and we'll see if they can actually punish it. I feel like Nisqy's going to be able to just clear away the wave for the most part.
Goes down. Wunder going to sidestep. Now here comes the Nocturne, and this time Udyr is out of health. Well played. SK, every single play SK have made has happened so slowly, but they're still making it work.
Yeah, and again, it's their ability to attack these side lanes, and in this case, they've got the Nocturne, they've got Rumble. Very easy, as Jankos
could be in trouble. Isma's got no mana.
Yeah.
There is no reason for him to be here. He's just offering up a double kill if he sticks around. Shennis ulti is going to connect, shield there, extra assist going in for the bottom side of the map, and Team Heretics managed to punish on the top side, giving the kill over to Wunder as well.
Feels nice for Wunder just to get that kill back, claw some of the gold he just lost. Maybe he's able to return that plate as well. See if he can, or just going to step away. Grub spawn within a minute, so could just take a reset, spend what little gold he's got, and then look to contest that with Jankos.
Makes a lot of sense. Irrelevant still up in gold, despite the death there. But a Spectre's Cowl getting closer and closer to a more defensive item coming through. Dawson Exakick could look to make a play in the mid lane. No package for Perkz. Isma hovering around, will be spotted by the control ward as the vision is now cleared. And Nisqy's already taken up home in the bottom lane. So dead even in gold. 1 Drake advantage to the side of SK. Team Heretics, of course, ahead in the Void buff, I do believe.
Do have teleport now, unleashed, so I wonder if Nisqy is actually going to try and pull the trigger. Isma's here, but no ultimate on Irrelevant, no ultimate on Isma. They can maybe push them back, have the grubs reset.
They got 1.
And Corki, Perkz actually teleported bot, so this should just be the additional 2 going over to SK, so feels good for them. Dragon's up in 1 minute time, so I expect we will see Irrelevant kind of move down, try and get force a little bit of priority, move down, like we saw last weekend. Whenever he can find the space to roam, he will.
An important check-in here, while it is so much more about the top side of the map, just checking in on the bot laners specifically, you can see Seraphine is 100 gold behind Aphelios, but she's down in CS. 600 gold lead for the Senna as well. You expect that if they're farming evenly, if they're able to farm evenly, the Flakked will start to pull ahead here, and the support items in general are just so incredibly powerful that the gold is going to be a little bit misleading. Exakick, terrible guns if they want to try to collapse on him now. But as we go later and later into this game, Flakked and Kaiser are going to feel more and more obnoxious. Essentially, 2 carries worth of gold, more or less, maybe 90% of what a carry would get. This is why this duo is so powerful, and anyone really who can take an extra support item is so powerful.
Exactly, but we have to remember SK do have the burst damage to blow those 2 up, as Seraphine, Senna, they are definitely some of the squishiest champions in the game.
Yeah. A lot of shields, a lot of heals, very annoying. Laning against them, miserable. Late game, when you've got a Gragas, when you've got a Nocturne, maybe not as frustrating.
And I will say, Flakked and Kaiser are really going to have to play out their positioning pretty much perfectly, because the dive is really easy to execute. Speaking of
Relevant
easy to
may have overstayed. That's the package on top side of Relevant. We'll just drop here. Kill going to be given over to Perkz. Takes his sweet time there. Gatling gun and an extra rocket to finish it off. Kill's now tied. Gold now dead even.
Okay, well, we expected SK would be the ones that would try and contest this dragon, and Team Heretics seem to agree, go for the cross map on the top side. They get their Corki kill. Feels good for Perkz, and he's going to be able to pick up a good couple of plays here. No one from SK is here to answer this one out, and they know where everyone on SK is, so this could be very easily 3 plates, maybe even 4 over the course of the next wave or so. Because Irrelevant doesn't have teleport. He's got to walk all the way back up here to cover this.
And Nisqy wanted to respond with another plate there on the bottom side to even things up, but Wunder in the area means he will not get the opportunity. Drake won't even really be contested. Isma able to take that one down. So 2 Drakes to the side of SK. Don't think we'll see the same Drake scaling situation that we saw previously, but Heretics clearly not looking to fight the full 5v5 at this stage of the game. Again, I think give more time to the Senna Seraphine. Let them scale up. Already got a Blood Song done on Kaiser. See what option Flakked wants to go for. He's at least 500 gold on his way to the 1,000 he needs to upgrade the support item.
On the way to that upgrade. I mean, whilst I do like the fact that we are seeing this double support.
You like it?
I don't know if I like it.
Well, okay.
I like that there's
clear.
a little bit more variety.
Do you like it because it's really strong and it would be sad to see EU not play what's good? Okay,
yeah.
Okay. That's important to know.
But, oh, wow. A lot of burst damage.
I like it because it's broken and I can abuse it in my games.
Of course.
Because, you know, not even ranked. That's how sad of a sweaty tryhard I am. I'm in normal games busting out double support items. Which is pretty toxic. And here we are.
I play some of those normal games of you recently.
And I still feed early and it doesn't matter. Double support item, baby. Comes in clutch. What would be Celestial Opposition for the Seraphine? Because that item is, again, if you don't know what it is, it's the mini Crown of the Shattered Queen, gives you the upfront damage reduction. That item ruins Nocturne's life a little bit. As it does, that might be the key to not getting one-shot here. It's just that item.
Yeah, that could definitely help out. And that's kind of what I wanted to allude to next is Team Heretics don't really have a lot of appeal. You know, like it's shields, yes, but I think with the amount of dive rather that SK have, it's effectively a shotgun comp, right? So they always run the risk of getting one shot.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm worried for.
I mean, you got
Heretics.
an Archangel Staff coming through too. It's gonna be, and Guardian.
Yeah.
Flakked is gonna be incredibly hard to one-shot. He is gonna get his ult off at the very minimum. But the Herald going over to the side of SK means they're going to have that much more control on the map. Wunder proxying a wave here, I think hoping just to break down another tier 1 tower. Where is the play going to go with this Herald? Total topside control. Might just be Herald and a tower. Traded for a tower here, as Irrelevant is uncontested on the top side.
Seems to be the case. They won't even drop the Herald. Just going to go for a reset. So happy with their victory of the Herald and the tower. And I anticipate that this Herald will probably get used in the mid lane. We'll have to see though. Try and shove out the side lanes. Collapse onto the mid lane.
Ooh, Flakked support item, ready to go. Celestial opposition. There it is. 400 gold, Crown of the Shattered Queen, everybody. Fun for the whole bot lane and no one else. Very strong as Flakked now can pretty much just step forward fearlessly unless there's multiple members of SK in sight. But maybe Isma and Das are looking to rectify that.
Very, very unbalanced.
Isn't this great?
You guys can't see it, but Drakos is doing a little dance.
Oh, a little dance. Senna's making money, stacking souls, which are also worth money, and money in terms of stats. It's a money-making bot lane.
I feel like this is going to be a game of cat and mouse, basically, throughout the entire game. There's an Infernal Soul on the cards. I guess it does, to a point, maybe put a little bit of pressure on Heretics if they do end up giving up this next dragon, but again, with the scaling available through Corki, through the bottom lane, and I mean, hell, Udyr, no slouch either. Zhao's always going to be able to kind of provide a fair amount of use into what is 4 melees and Aphelios.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got Exakick at least picking up some early lethality here. We'll see what the itemization choice is next. I imagine it will just be sitting on the Serrated Dirk going into IE, but could go for full collector.
Yeah.
Maybe not ideal against an Udyr, though.
No, maybe not the Udyr, but I feel like you're always trying to send out an Ormet, right? Blue gun Ormet onto backline, so opting into a collector with that in mind does make a fair amount of sense. Here's this Herald plate that we were talking about.
Irrelevant walking up as well. If Flakked tries to stick around, he might just get Rumble ulted. They're just focusing down the tower as quickly as they can. Celestial opposition has been procced. Flakked a little bit more vulnerable, but Team Heretics quick to collapse, quick to deny any potential follow-up. Nisqy stepping in. Perkz has the package. But again, posturing. And now the Seraphine, shielding and sustain, starts to come into play as Exakick forced to back away, package to the backside. Exakick still standing, that's going to be big. Blue wall hitting onto 2. Is it going to be enough damage? Exakick continuing to free fire. Jankos leaping in, should just try to take down the Xin. So many blinking health bars on the side of SK. Kaiser stepping in, finding the kill on the Senna, and now Jankos looking to follow up. Wind becomes lightning, already connecting on Isma. Meanwhile, Team Heretics pushing SK back to their tier 1 tower and looking to secure this Drake.
Team Heretics find the fight they're looking for. No one actually ends up being dove on, and that's really the big issue from the SK point of view. Isma's not able to find key backline access alongside DOS or Irrelevant, and Nisqy doesn't even find a place to use the cask, so Team Heretics get a very, very free fight, diving through the choke, and they'll get this dragon, so no longer at the threat of an early soul. Now they can live quite happy, try and force this mid lane down a little bit, get some poke in, and try and set up around the Baron as well. Spawns in 2 minutes time.
No. Corki doing a lot of damage here. You can see as the fight breaks out, it starts off so poorly for SK with Exakick forced to flash.
Exactly. SK, Exakick just not in the position he really wants to be. But this is what I'm kind of talking about. Irrelevant forced to flash out backwards. And of course, DOS and Isma not able to find a dive that they were looking for onto Kaiser or onto Flakked. And again, Nisqy never really felt like he was able to drop a cask to really displace. Okay.
Well, Team Heretics certainly felt good about that play, if that replay taught us anything.
Yep.
And I don't think it gets easier. If you start to fall behind in this game, as the the Nocturne Gragas Rumble composition, if Team Heretics get ahead of the clock, which they already kind of unnaturally are, courtesy of double support, things can get very tricky. Flakked, though, still has to be careful. Can't still just get chunked out here. Celestial opposition does not make him immune to damage.
No, but it's fine, because Kaiser can just heal him up. So, life is good.
Life is good. Isma popping the ult here. TP being used mid lane.
Certainly a strange one.
Okay. Generously, we'll call that an ult for TP trade. Team Heretics just bowling in. And Wild, I mean, earlier in the game, Team Heretics were the ones kind of constantly backing off, but now they've got full control. Jankos can just wander in here and try to 1v1 Isma. Nisqy wants to counter.
Just going to yield it. Buff will go over to Jankos. There's the Baron. I think once Perkz hits 2 item, that's when we'll try and see a bit of pressure. Ooh, Cast doesn't find the direction. Does find the targets though. A little bit unlucky on Nisqy's part.
Relevant will break down bot side tower as Perkz is able to push in the waves top side. Big credit to Team Heretics bot lane. I feel like while a lot of the games last week, they did get they were 2-1, a lot of the games were maybe not the best form some of these players have shown. I thought Kaiser had some excellent performances on the Bard, and I think he and Flakked are obviously gelling really well, especially when you look at this laning phase. Pretty immaculate, didn't make too many mistakes. Obviously, it's a strong lane on the patch by all means, but now you can see in the team fight it's really starting to pay off because as long as they're positioning well, you highlighted earlier, as long as they're playing well, as long as they're playing pretty flawlessly in terms of movement, it's pretty impossible to get on the back line.
Exactly. I feel like SK are really going to have to reach the extra mile if they're going to be able to take down Flakked, take down Kaiser.
Right now.
But again, the tools are there. It's just about whether or not they can actually find a favorable fight. We've just not been able to see it yet.
Yeah, it is definitely tricky. Exakick really wanting to finish some more items. This, I mean, the support stuff is just so strong, man. I mean, look at enemy Senna, 82 CS, 1.2k gold lead over the Rakan, almost 2 items completed. But there is the ulti, knock-up coming through, but immediately no fall-off. The play has already gone bad. There's an Udyr in the midst of the entire SK lineup. Finally, the equalizer goes down, but there's no fall-off. There's no room to respond. Team Heretics slaughtering them. The Aphelios ult does nothing in the face of the Xin ult. Knock back under the tower. Maybe they can get 1 back in return. Exakick, terrible guns for the follow-up, and Team Heretics standing 5 members strong. They will not go down.
And with the sustain that they've got, they should be able to just go and try and turn this into a Baron attempt at the very least. Isma doesn't have smite, so this should be a freebie. Drakos, I don't really feel like SK can contest this. They're just going to look towards the mid lane, try and trade some towers. This will be a Baron for Team Heretics.
Yeah, it's coming into this week. SK, of course, uncontested in first place, but Team Heretics looking to tie it up. Confidence on the double support item strategy. Perkz aggressive on the roams. And now everything coming up in favor of Team Heretics. Maybe it's the Whirlwind buff. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows indeed. But it's DOS that kicks this off. The issue is
you haven't
Isma
done any damage.
Yeah, he doesn't do any damage, and no one else tries to follow up. I mean, it's only really Isma in that position that could, so a bit disjointed from SK. The call is very clearly to engage, but not everyone's in range for it. This cask is nice from Nisqy, but not enough follow-up damage on the back end, and like you also called out, Exakick just didn't have the gun combo to try and make a turnaround play occur. So now we have Heretics, 23 minutes into the game with Baron and the ability to move around the map pretty much for free. All of the additional, movement speed, healing, shielding. Gonna just make this a bit of a nightmare for SK unless they can really find a perfect engage, which, as we call out time and time again, they've really struggled to do.
Isma walking up to Fear, but is just gonna have to back off. Perkz off to the side. Can go unstoppable. Exakick forced to flash away. Maybe they can try to turn this one back. Perkz has been caught out. Big shutdown. Going to slow down the Baron. Team Heretics forced to back away for a brief moment, but they can just set their sights on the Infernal. I still don't know if SK can win this.
It's a bit tricky. I mean, Perkz is practically all of their damage, so Heretics, they can just be a little bit patient here. Hold off SK. Or they can go in.
Knock-up not going to come through. Wunder just going to wander forward here. Try to lock up Nisqy. Wind becomes lightning. Nisqy makes it over the wall. Follow-up is there, however. Charmed now by the Seraphine ultimate. Another member down. Dosh is going to lay down a little bit of vision. Pull the Drake a bit. Isma clearing midway, but this should just be another Drake for the side of Team Heretics.
2 Infernals to the good of Team Heretics. Feels pretty good when you consider that it is kind of Perkz who should be carrying a lot of that damage. So, SK, I mean, what's the answer now?
I mean, you have an Oblivion Orb to mitigate the healing, but the shielding is also a big problem, and I don't think anyone wants to build Serpent's Fang.
Nope.
Even if it would be a pretty cost-effective buy in terms of what it could get you. It's just a 2,600 gold, pretty expensive at this point. Isma caught out and is just gonna die here. Jamada, I think this game is over. I think that SK are dead men walking. This is an impossible comp to break as Udyr's just gonna wander forward. Perkz now following up.
It doesn't feel like SK have an answer. It felt like they had to try and find those engages 10 minutes ago. They weren't able to, and now it's just
dead.
Getting run over across the map.
It's a 2-item Senna support with Bloodsong. She hits like a truck. All right, SK being corralled, SK being herded. They're gonna have a few more minutes to form up because there's no Baron, there's no Dragon on the map, but in the meantime, Team Heretics are just gonna break down some of these towers. Again, look at that Kaiser damage. Look at Exakick's damage. Understand.
Yep.
Very powerful. We'll not see this on another patch.
No, we won't, thankfully. I'm just trying to rack my brain. I mean, I feel like so much of this game is just in Team Heretics' hands.
Back there, Exakick already dead. Perkz off to the side, untouched. Dost knocked down. Wunder just gonna walk forward and tank this tower. Look at those shields, folks.
What can you do? I feel like the answer is just nothing.
Damn. I feel like they won the split already. They got so many shields. Team Heretics. They're an unstoppable death ball. Captained by a young pop star. I don't even know how you describe this.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where to land with that one, to be honest with you.
That's okay. I don't think SK do either.
No, I don't think they do.
Even if they push all of their buttons on one target, they might not be able to kill them. Because Corki can go unstoppable when he has the package. Jankos can block the vast majority of damage with his ultimate. Flakked and Kaiser are going to be a mile away, so it's going to be hard enough to get in position. And they've outscaled.
I think it's doomed.
Yeah.
It's not feeling pretty good. DOS
Giga doomed.
DOS was searching for a flank, I think.
And credit to DOS. This is kind of what you have to do. You have to look for these avenues, you have to look for these angles, but at this point, he is a lamb to the slaughter. That slow is a massive. All right, going on a walkabout. Can get infernal move speed.
Okay.
He's on a journey. He's playing his own mini game. It's like Pac-Man, but he will just yeah, okay, he's gonna die in the end. It's exactly like Pac-Man. But instead, he's gonna make it out until he sees Udyr come around the corner. Oop, Udyr found him. He was shopping. He had no cooldowns. He will drop. Wunder is now known as Inky.
As Inky?
Inky, one of the ghosts from Pac-Man.
Oh, of course.
Just came in, waka. I'm struggling here, man. I'm not going to be honest.
I know.
The League of Legends game has ended. At this point, all we have is stand-up.
This has been a game of League of Legends for sure. I mean, Heretics, their composition kind of pilots itself, right? I mean, whilst we spoke a lot about how SK really wanted to be incredibly aggressive and precise with their engages, Heretics just had to survive, and felt like they did more than survive. And SK never really found a good angle, and now Baron's up again.
It's just tough, because again, Seraphine is 70 farm down and is only 400 gold behind the Aphelios.
With 3 ions.
And Senna's 3.1k gold ahead of the Rakan.
Yep.
The math don't math, Jamada. That does not make sense.
How did we get here, Drakos? How did we land the double support IM again? After what happened a couple of years ago, you
have to understand, the League of Legends player base are wizards. No matter what the design team does, they will ruin the game. They will find a way.
Well, DOS has no health or flash.
Wunder now backing off. Exakick is dead already. Equalizer does nothing. Jankos following up. Wind becomes lightning. My favorite ability to say today as a double kill goes through for Team Heretics. And yeah, get excited. They've already won. They're taking their time with it. They can get Baron. They still have to be disciplined. They can't overstep. They can't make mistakes. But after last week's performance, they want to clean it up, you know?
Yeah.
Tie up SK. 3-1. Yeah, but this is the thing. I don't think the balance team appreciates. There is no one more desperate to find a way to break the game than a hard-stuck player looking to look at anything other than his own performance is the reason.
That's true. That's very true. And I'm pretty sure the hard suck players are the ones that are abusing double support item. Anyway.
True.
DOS.
You can see, looks for the angle. Perkz, unstoppable. Exakick's gonna step forward here. Big mistake, he's not allowed to do that.
Yeah. No one can really frontline for him this game. It's also another issue for SK as Isma just finds himself in the middle of too many members, and SK, they haven't had options for a while.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Here comes Wunder. Not gonna find anything else. It's 10k gold lead. It is 3 dragons. It is 13-3. Perkz dealt 4k damage leaping out of the fight.
All right, SK, what do you have for us at your 10k gold deficit? Because we know what Heretics can do. Or is it just gonna be, it's not a slow bleed, it's a very quick one.
Isma tries to strike fear into their hearts. They are not afraid at all. They're doing tons of damage. SK getting slaughtered in their own base. Cannon Creep not stepping forward, though. Have they potentially overstepped? The answer is no. They are actually unkillable. Are you kidding me? There are 2 towers standing. Team Heretics don't care. Team Heretics coming in, tying up SK 3-1.
They will join SK at the top of the table. And Team Heretics are our first team to demonstrate that double support item that we were talking about all of last weekend, didn't get to see. And Team Heretics showing us why it's so bloody broken.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see it again in our next game, G2 versus Mad Lions Koi. But of course, key up player of the game, vote now at LEC on X, Jankos, Flakked, Kaiser. Flakked is the one who had to push purchase on a support item after the start of the game, so potentially his credit. Regardless, clean, composed game from Team Heretics, tying up SK, top of the standings. But that's enough from us here at the Cast Desk. We're going to head to a quick break. When we return, more League of Legends. Don't go anywhere.